Hello, everybody. This is Miner Bob. Let's start another episode of Timber and Stone. In the area immediately around where I'm going to build, I clear out the stumps. I don't want the trees to regenerate that close to where my base is. I want to have good fields of fire for my archers, so you really need to make sure the trees don't grow where you're going to be living. You want to control exactly where the trees grow. Once you have a little bit of a supply built up, go ahead and reset the encumbrance of your workers so that they can carry a little more. This is going to be especially true with your miners. When you need to build a mining stockpile, they're going to have to be able to carry a little extra. As you can see, what I'm doing is raising my woodcutters from 6 to 8 and my miners from 8 to 10. I still keep the foragers at 6 because I really want them to come back and deliver that food. It's amazing how much food they can collect and carry on them if they have full carrying capacity. I once lost a forager in the woods to a wolf. He had a full load of berries on him and I lost 50 food. You really can't afford that sort of disaster. That's way too much food to lose, especially because foraging is not really fully sustainable. It's now time to build a new mining stockpile. So I generally pause it and I start to look for where I should put it. In this case, I really think I want to put it out over on that island. That looks like a good amount of minerals, and it's probably a good place to start for building my hall. Eventually one of them will finish their task and they'll build the mining stockpile. It takes higher priority over mining a block. It doesn't take very long before you need to build another tool chest. The important thing is to make sure that you build it near your work areas. In this case, I'm going to put a tool chest right out by the mining stockpile. I know that my miners are going to be out here and they're eventually going to take all of that stone, so it makes sense that if they break their pickaxe, they don't have to go very far to get a new one. I've gone over my capacity for food and seeds, so I need to build a barrel. I'm also almost at capacity for my wood. So I'm going to go ahead and build a wood pile out in the middle of where the trees are. Remember, trees will regrow as long as you don't cut down the stumps. Might as well put a tool chest out there also, and a food barrel. So why is a food barrel way out? Well, right now, the farmer is near the wagon, so he can put his seeds in there pretty quickly. But the foragers are collecting from out far into the field. So by putting a food barrel farther out in the forest, it makes for a shorter trip for them to dump off their food. Also, when the woodcutters are out in the forest, chopping down large areas of timber, they don't have to go all the way back to the wagon in order to eat. Eventually, I will build a food barrel out by the mining stockpile also. But right now, I only have a few copper ingots, so I'm only building them one at a time. I'm almost up to 100 food now, so it's time to take one of my foragers off foraging duty and turn them into a woodcutter. Now, many players will look for enemy mobs by scrolling down on the map, by hitting page down and looking below the terrain level to see where they can find enemy mobs. They'll just simply scroll around and scan the map looking for them. There's a much easier way. Simply go into the directory where your saves are, find the game you have, and there's a un.save file. Open it with a text editor and scroll down to the bottom. And that's where you'll see the monsters. There are basically 4 sections here. The first section really is header information. The second section starts with a number, indicates how many rows follows. That's where your settlers are. The next one is a section that tells you how many livestock you have on the screen and what types they are and where they are. Finally, there's the number that indicates how many mobs there are. And in this case, I have none. I'm at the point where I need to start thinking about making some ingots, especially copper. So the first thing you need to do is build a stone forge. Notice that it requires a stonemason. For now, I'm just going to put one out here. They're really cheap to build, so there's no reason not to tear it down later if you don't like where it's at. After that, you need a stone anvil to work metal. Again, this is made by a stone mason. So I'm going to go ahead and have my jack of all trades become a stone mason so that these can be built. I'm going to go ahead and set up a queue of ingots that I need built. I have 4 ore that allows me to build 2 ingots. I'm going to go ahead and try to build 2 copper pickaxes from that. This will allow me to mine tin. But first thing you need to do is build a number of tongs. That's done by the blacksmith, just like making the ingots are. So we're going to go ahead and change our jack of all trades to blacksmith. We have to stoke up the forge. Sorry for the noise. I've just noticed that that forager dropped off his food, but he probably has more resources that he's going to drop off. Specifically animal hides, animal fat, other things from harvesting the animals. Those go in resource crates, so it reminds me that I should probably put a resource crate out here so that they can dump off all their inventory at the same place before moving on. Grace has just successfully crafted an ingot and a copper pickaxe, so watch as the miner goes and picks up that new copper pickaxe. So now they can mine copper, tin, and coal. So it's time to go start picking out those tin and coal resources so that we can get our bronze making started. There's some coal. That's already tin. That's already tin to find. So let's make sure that they go and mine those specific resources first. We do not want that copper pickaxe to break before we get enough tin and a bronze pickaxe made. At this point, you'll probably have to micromanage the miner a little bit just to make sure that they get all the resources you want and so that they don't start digging stone with it. Although I don't have anyone defined as a builder, I'm going to go ahead and define some building that I want done. Essentially, I want a walkway out to the main rock pile that will form the base of my castle on the lake. It seems like neither of my miners have a bronze pickaxe, so I'm going to go ahead and try again. It seems that my blacksmith has failed at making the bronze ingot, and I've lost my copper, so I can't make a bronze ingot, and therefore I can't make that bronze pickaxe. Might as well have him make some rope. Okay, it's gotten to be dusk, so it's time to set somebody as a builder. I pretty much got mining underhand, so I'm going to go ahead and set that one miner to a builder temporarily. We have over 100 raw stone, so I'll be able to make that bridge to the other island pretty easily. It's also time to pull our foragers in. They're the farthest out, so they get reset first. That one becomes a builder. And another builder. It's just easier to set them to builders. That definitely brings them in. Next, I start undesignating the timber. Let them chop the last few trees, And then when they're done, they'll automatically go back to the wagon looking for a new assignment. Again, I don't want them wandering around late at night in the dark. I just noticed a builder says I must clear out some inventory. That's a sure sign that I forgot to reset the encumbrance of my foragers so that they can actually carry more blocks. Time to move them up to 12. Same thing with the woodcutters. They're going to get moved up to 12 now that we have a generous wood supply. Because everybody's going to be close in. There's really not much danger that they're going to have to run a long distance away from a mob. If ever you see a settler doing something that doesn't quite look right, like this builder, he's swimming off to another location, check the info, check to see what task he's doing. It says he was supposed to be building a block, so clearly he's trying to go to a different mining pile in order to collect the stone, or in this case the wagon. Force him back to where it's something closer. Sometimes they don't path to the closest place, and this is a little bit of a micromanagement game, especially with builders. But in the end, you'll be more efficient. One of the big decisions is when to define a hall. In this case, I'm just temporarily defining a very small hall so that when my farmer goes to sleep, in fact they're already asleep out there by the wagon, I can instead force them to sleep at the hall. This is a much safer thing to have them sleeping out on this platform rather than way out there in the dark where it's not going to be easy to defend them. Basically, I'm going to work through the night and I'm going to start mining up this pile and I'm going to start building this platform even larger. So really, everybody will be here in case there's an attack. So I need people to stay here when they're idle or when they're asleep. So defining a hall just for the nighttime is usually not a bad thing. Of course, if there are monsters about, then they probably are going to start heading right for that hall because you've defined it. Now, one of the things about farming is that your farmers will try to store up 25 seeds of each seed type. Until that happens, they're pretty much not going to be producing food. So the question is, what do you do? Do you just start out with a few seeds and then wait till it stores up to 25? Or do you define a very large farm and they'll eventually fill it out? What I actually do is I only define a farm as large as I have the number of seeds. And then as seeds are slowly building up, I add a few more and a few more and a few more. What you're trying to do is create more crops so that you create the seeds faster. But you don't want to overwhelm your farmer with trying to deal with too many crops at one time. Whoops. Not only did I not notice that the bronze pickaxe again didn't get made, but I lost track of the fact that I ran out of stone. I have too many people building using stone and not enough people mining, therefore producing it. I've noticed that my blacksmith has finally made a brass ingot, and sure enough, I have a miner with a bronze pickaxe. So it is night, but we're still pretty close in. I am going to force him to go mine all of that iron that I had previously designated. Tomorrow morning, when I have a little better light, I'll see if there's any other iron that I forgot to pick up. But the main thing is, now that I have a bronze pickaxe, I need to make the most of it and make sure that he gets the iron before it breaks. Well, I think that's going to be it for this episode. I realize I still haven't gotten through day 1 yet, and this is the second episode, but I think we're making real progress. If you like what you see, leave a like. Subscribe would be nice. And I'll see you next time.